I am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that are read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She's the author of the book These Stories Are True, no other than Miss Catherine Berra.
Hello.
Welcome to Book 101, Miss Catherine, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. I've been a writer my whole career, and during COVID, I decided to start delving into a really crazy couple of years of online dating that I did after my son went off to college. So that was the impetus of this comedy book. I've also written a poetry book, and I'm working on a third book right now, but I have slowed down in my work career, and so now I'm doing something I love.
Miss Catherine Berra, thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. What inspired you to start exploring online dating as an older adult?
Well, I had been a single mom for probably 12 years. I got divorced when my son was very young, almost married a second time, but he unfortunately passed away. And I just, at the behest of many of my friends, they tried to motivate me to get back out there. And so with the help of several friends who helped me create a profile online, I decided to try it. And what ensued was just a real comedy of errors. And my coworker, who would hear all my stories every day, told me many times, you need to write a book. This is crazy. And I said, well, I don't want anyone to know because these are crazy stories. And so during COVID, when we all had a lot of downtime, I started writing the stories. But what motivated me to try was that my son had gone off to college, and I thought it was a good time. And it was just a crazy, crazy experience with many stories from both men and women in my book. But also, I've just learned that so many people have been through this. It's quite interesting and astonishing, actually.
So, have you ever come across dating profile that left you speechless?
Oh, I don't know about the profile itself, but the experiences of the people that contacted me. It's quite an autonomous sort of avenue to dating. I'm older, and you know, uh, when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, dating was the video dating, the video. I guess it was called video dating. They didn't have the internet and online anything, so you had to literally either write a personal ad in the newspaper, or you had to do a video dating sort of entry, and people could respond that way. So, this new age modern day dating, I think there are a lot of people who say they're things they aren't, and lots of married men who don't tell you they're married. There are men who, in my experience, men and women, for my male friends, but that are married, have been married 30 years, got divorced, and then had a rebound marriage. So they have 30-year-old children and then 2-year-old children from the rebound marriage. So it's all just a very crazy adventure.
Crazy adventure. So, have you ever had a date that ended up being wildly different from their profile?
Yes. Well, one man said he was 5'10", and he showed up and he was probably 5'5", things like that, things of that nature. So nothing wildly different other than hearing stories from men about their ex-wives and things like that. That is just quite honestly annoying to sit during a whole hour long or so date listening to them talk about other people. But mainly, I think just embellishment of their lives and a lot of hidden agendas also.
So, Miss Catherine, these stories are true. Which one or which story do you want to share to us?
Well, I think I mean, I could share many, but the one that really resonated a lot with people was, and just to back up a little bit, after I published this book, the same friend who convinced me to write it also had mentioned to me about TikTok and Book Talk, which is a facet of TikTok where you can go on and try to passively market your book and share, chapters and things like that. And so I decided to get on TikTok, and I'm still on there. And one of the videos I did was about 7 seconds long, and it was about dating scammers because during my experience, one guy did try to scam me, and I've caught it right away. But the video was just, like I said, a real quick 7 second snip about dating scammers. Now has over 1 million views. So, and probably 10,000 comments. And I thought about doing a sequel to the book based on that video and those comments alone, but that to me resonated so greatly with me. And I know we all hear about it. I think it's a $1.3 billion business now, industry, these scammers that scam mostly very vulnerable elderly people, not necessarily always elderly, but definitely vulnerable people. And it's a real interesting study in human condition. And my story was, I there was a profile on one of these sites, and we started communicating. And the pictures that showed him, there were about 15 pictures, and I was in Northern Virginia at the time. I worked in Washington D.C. for a long time, and so he had military, uniform. He said and appeared to be in the Marines, I believe. And at the end of the day, after I figured out he was trying to scam me, mainly because he would send me these long emails with lots of misspellings and poems that I could look up on Google and know that, they weren't his writing, even though he claimed they were. I found out that he had stolen those pictures. Now, granted, when you're online, anybody could steal your pictures anywhere, right? He had stolen or taken those pictures off a military obituary site and created a fake profile on this dating site. And it just infuriated me. But when I posted that video on TikTok, I had thousands of stories from other people, and these scammers use the same script, and they try to, reel you in. And several of the women and men in these comments on this video had admitted that they had been scammed themselves. So that's the chapter that really has received the most response. And I think it's because so many people have had the experience of that.
So, Miss Catherine, do you have a story where miscommunication led to an awkward or funny moment?
Well, yes, there was a gentleman that I had dated previously, and he was a professor at a university, and it was just, we dated several times and it just didn't click. So, and this is a miscommunication to him by someone, but it was quite funny. It's a chapter in my book. And months after we had dated, he reappeared on my matches. So we communicated again and decided to try to date again. And when we were at lunch, he told me that during the 4 or 5 months we hadn't seen each other, he had started dating a woman who was a pharmacist. And he told me she had 3 children from 3 different men. And I thought, well, that's a red flag right there. But he said that he thought they were monogamous. This 4 or 5 months they were together. And one day he had gone over to her house to surprise her. And her car was in the driveway, so he didn't think twice. And um, he knocked on the door, and she answered the door. Now, granted, she had been, 3 babies with 3 different daddies. She opened the door, and she was in a cheerleading outfit. And he said, "What are you doing?" And she admitted that she was in there having a threesome with 2 of her ex-husbands. So the communication was that he thought he was, in a monogamous situation, And apparently he was not. So that ended there, and it's just a funny story, but it's also very sad. But that was totally a miscommunication, and it goes both ways, you know. So for me, I don't think there's ever been a huge miscommunication other than I had a date one time with a guy who would not leave. I have horses, and he came to the barn where I have my horses, and he wouldn't leave. 6 hours later, I couldn't get rid of him. So my communication to him was not stern enough, I believe. And so finally, after all that time, I had some friends help me get him to leave. But other than that, nothing I can think of miscommunication wise.
So, Miss Catherine, what's one piece of advice you'd give to older adults trying online dating for the first time?
Oh, I think to have a sense of humor, and this is why this is a comedy book. These stories are true. I bleep you not, um, but I do think you need to have a sense of humor, and I think you also really just need to understand that as an older person, we've all been through so much. Some people have been married once, twice, three times, and as I say at the end of the book, you're just looking for someone who can help you pull your wagon of baggage behind you while you help them unpack theirs, sort of thing. Because as we are older people, it's inevitable that we do have things we've been through. So the sense of humor, I think, is the most key.
Sense of humor, people. So, how has online dating changed your perspective on relationships?
Well, I haven't done it in a while, but I think what is interesting to me is I had great dates, but I had also some just crazy, crazy dates. And I think, Daniel, the thing I have learned is it's a study in our human condition. And I think just social media and the internet and everything is so autonomous, and people ghost each other. They don't put any effort into, really, they don't have to. They can swipe, they don't have to call someone. They can text them. They don't have to have that personal one-on-one, and even a phone call with it, an inflection in your voice sort of situation. I think that is what I've learned, is that it's a very interesting study in how both social media and just current modern day culture has changed so much and changed the nature of relationships in general.
So, have you ever discovered an amazing friendship through an online dating app?
No, I haven't really. I did find some people to golf with, but that didn't last because they found other women to, date long term. But nothing phenomenal. No, other I would have married him if I had found somebody like that. I would have stayed with him. So,
Definitely. So, what's the best lesson you've learned from an expected dating experience?
oh, I think a best lesson. Well, there was one lesson, and I think it's really sad to say this, but you get so tired of, it's almost like going on a interview every single time you go on a date. And there was a man, I think it's one of the first chapters in the book, and he had met me for coffee, and I am guilty of, I had ridden my horse. It was summer. I was still in my horse clothes. I met him for coffee at Starbucks or something, because I was just like, I don't want to put any effort into a dinner or something like that. I just wanted it to be a short kind of meet. And he, during that, what, maybe hour, had admitted to me that he had been married for a very long time, had been very unhappy in his marriage for the last 6 years, but he stuck with it because his daughter was under 18, and he wanted to wait till she was 18 to get divorced, so he didn't miss, visitation or have to pay out, child support or anything. And he said I mean, he was very proud of the fact that he said on the Thursday that he and this ex-wife would go to Costco and meet after work to do their shopping. He met her there with this envelope, and after they shopped, he gave her the envelope, and it was basically divorce papers. And he said, "Oh, I fooled her." Ha, ha. And I thought it's so fascinating to me that he thought that was a good thing to talk about on a date. So the lesson I have learned through this is that, people are a little bit too much. A lot of men, anyway, that I've met, they just talk about things they shouldn't talk about. And the lesson I've learned from that is if they start, you need to nip it in the bud. You need to stop them from talking about it, and make or break at that point because it can be very uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable. Definitely. So, have you encountered any common cliches or stereotypes in older adult dating profiles?
Well, these are good questions. Yeah, I see a lot. Or I did. I haven't done this in so long. Men that say, they don't want any drama. They don't want
Yes.
women with drama. And I'm thinking, well, what the heck does that even mean? So that's a cliche that I saw a lot. And then also, just, unfortunately, there are a lot of men who are not divorced yet who, you know, claim they're single and they're not. So those sorts of cliches are very rampant in the online dating apps.
So, Miss Catherine, what will be your short term and long term goals in writing?
In what now?
In writing.
Oh, in writing. So, again, um, my website I sent to you, catherinebarra.com, but I do have a poetry book I wrote in 2020 or 2020. And then my comedy book. And now I'm writing my third book, and I'm also writing another poetry book right now. But the third book is a little difficult. It's been a little tricky. It's basically about the irony and humor in death. And it was the impetus for that was the death of my father and just all the crazy, nutty things that happened prior to and after. And just taking a different, kind of a sardonic sense of humor, sort of attitude toward it, and trying to put that together. So, but I again, I have been a writer my whole life. I was in the State Department as a technical writer. I worked for a U.S. ambassador for a very long time and wrote speeches, and so it's been more formal writing for me. So now I'm sort of veering as I've decreased my time in my career towards more pleasurable writing goals. So
Good luck to your goals, Miss
thank you.
Catherine, and looking forward for more books to come. So, can you summarize your comedy book?
Comedy book. Well, again, it's called These Stories Are True. I Bleep You Not. It's a humorous look at online dating for the unsuspecting older human. And that's pretty much summarizes what it's about. It's just a bunch of stories and a summary of how I started out with this great attitude about dating as an older person, and just the kind of ridiculousness you go through and the surprising craziness of stories and experiences, and also what other people have been through, because as soon as I tell somebody I wrote this book, they have a story for me, so we could talk about this forever. But I think this summary is it's just a collection of stories from myself. Of course, all the names are changed and everything, but from people men I dated who told me their stories, and just this comedic sort of attitude, and humorous look at it. So,
So, how do you navigate online dating while keeping it light and fun?
oh, I just think you have to definitely make it that way. Again, I haven't done it in a while, but I because I'm dating people, a man that I know a little bit, but I just think you need to really go into it as an older person, just knowing, we all have all of this stuff that we've been through, and unless you're willing to really take that on or manage it together, I know a lot of women who just are not interested at all in a marriage again. One of my friends says, I don't want to be a nurse or a purse to a man. And, you do have to have a sense of humor. Again, I know 3 women who pay their ex husband's alimony because they made more money. So it's a different world. And so I think there are all different sorts of facets to relationships now that didn't exist, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And it's just having a positive attitude, but also just being aware of everyone has, lots of layers to their life at this point.
So, Miss Catherine, what would be your advice for those people out there who want to write this same genre of book?
Oh, well, I was lucky enough to have a friend who also self published, and I used a company in Colorado called My Word Publishing. Her name is Polly Latovsky, and she's an online publishing consultant. And they have a network of people that really helped me navigate. So I published this on Amazon on KDP, which you can do by yourself. Literally, you don't need anybody to help you. But I had someone help me with the cover design. And the cover is me. I cartooned myself pointing at the sky. So a lot of it is self done. But you need an editor and you need just people to give you feedback. So I would say if you're going to go in it, you just need a network of people to help you. And that's how I did it, mywordpublishing.com. And, you can do different layers of help, to the full scale to just little parts of it. But I definitely think if you are going to self publish, that you do still need help navigating the process.
So, Miss Catherine, to wrap up our discussion for today, if you could write a warning label for unsuspecting older humans entering online dating, what would what would it say?
The warning, oh gosh, probably warning. This might cause serious confusion and hysterical laughter at the same time.
Historical laughter and adventure for sure. So, Miss Catherine Berra, thank you so much for sharing your books to the world. And I have said, looking forward for more books like this. So, can you please invite our listeners to support all your books?
Oh, sure. Again, my website is catherinebera.com and I'm on Amazon. You can look my name up under Berra, Berra, and look forward to writing some more and putting them up there.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Catherine Berra because if you support her, as I said, more books to come. So, Miss Catherine, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Modicom people, see you soon. Thank you, Miss Catherine. If you have a new book to promote, please do